Good afternoon, how are you? Well, it's nice out today. It's about 68, humidity's 57, and the winds are at 9.2 miles an hour. Breezy day. So what do we have in today's three-ring circus? Well, let's start with appearances. Trump preens for the camera, but he bellyaches when they catch him as he is. Tired from coming from halfway around the world, he wants to appear as a matinee idol. Well, news break, 79 is not a good age to be a matinee idol. Not that I believe in ageism, but we sort of take on the look we have as we get older, and I guess it's always important how we look, but the point of the picture, which was to show the wear of the entire event on Trump. But he doesn't see that. He wants to be glorified. He wants to be worshipped. He wants people to tell him how good he looks and how well he's dressed and how smart he is and how wealthy he is. And none of us like a person like that, because who knows whom we're catching at a moment in their life when it isn't a difficult time. So I think George Washington had it as one of his requirements about pride and so forth. And so Trump is overly proudful without justification for the pride that he has. And he's talking about whether or not he's going to heaven. He thinks he'll go to the other place. How could there be any doubt? If you actually believe in an afterlife and you believe there's any sense in any gospel or religious writing that those who act as Trump did go to hell, then I don't know what you're believing in. I personally think it's the question is it a pause or a full stop? And I think the end of our life is the end of our life. It's a full stop. And so your life is itself a work of art. And by that standard, Trump has accomplished something quite hideous with whom he is and how he acts and what he does. The heartless Orange King, by the way, has killed another 6 people in the waters of Venezuela. What is wrong with this guy? It's sort of, he wants to balance something that is incidental to what he did in the Mideast, namely to free hostages, 20 from Hamas and almost 2,000 from the Israelis. And so he can't participate in that moment because these people are just ciphers to him. They're symbols. They're the Time magazine cover that he wants, in which he's gathered together all the people who were freed, not giving a damn about any one of them, but knowing that it'll affect others. So heartless and objective is his entire life, what's good for him. In the category of bad conduct and politics that has no place, we have the PSAs at the airports, state-sponsored politics, saying that, it's because of the Democrats that there are delays at the airports and so forth. This is unheard of. The argument on the Hill, which the Republicans in the House refuse to join, is, can we make a better balance between the haves and the have-nots, the endangered and the safe, when it comes to health, among other things. And the Republicans, just don't want to do it. And the Senate is about to have its 8th vote to open the government, and they won't have the count. So I'm not even sure why they're doing it. And if they were to sit at a table and divide the question, say into 10 different pieces, and find midpoints on each of those, and talk over how they could approach some agreement, the government would be open. And it's not like this just happened. This has been going on for years. They've been doing this. So what else is Trump doing? Well, on the one hand, he wants to be on the Time cover looking just super. And he wants everybody bowing down for him. And in his exalted tiredness, he turns on Hamas saying, well, if they don't disarm, we'll disarm them. He responds to this hypothetical so he can be this latter-day John Wayne, tough for America. But you know, John Wayne was a fictional character too. I mean, yes, he was an actor, but he played parts. He didn't do any of those things. And in terms of Congress spending time on worthless things, no Jacket Jim Jordan, he wants to have Jack Smith from his days as a prosecutor come up to the Hill and testify. Well, you know, this is going to cause us all to push back because this is beyond the pale. And we have also a broad reaction to our boy, Hegseth. Somehow I feel that that's a devil worship name. And he wants to muzzle those who cover the Defense Department, the War Department. And they can't publish what they know, even when it's unclassified, without the permission of old Pete. In every turn, we can look for rottenness, calculated restrictions on our ability to think and to express ourselves, pushing for inequality in which Big Brother stands above us all. Trump no brother to me, nor could I imagine that he was in real life, given how he tortured his real life brother. It's interesting, though, to follow Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's calling the GOP men weak. She wants to extend the health care subsidies. Now, that sounds like a traditional politician looking at her own constituency, seeing what she needs and saying the right thing. Does she mean it? Does she believe it? Well, she is saying it, and that's not something to be ignored because she carries weight in her peculiar party. The other thing that seems to drive her is she wants a vote on the Epstein files. I think she's building a force within the Republican Party for herself. I'm not saying that's wrong, but she's finding a pathway when Trump falls off the rails and Vance is not up to it. I'm not saying she'd be in a presidential contender or a vice presidential contender, but I think she's looking for other things. We'll find out. Now, another thing that's very interesting to me is it's sort of like Democrats will snatch defeat from the jaws of victory when they get a chance. I'm talking up in Maine. There's an ageist opposition to the Maine governor, Janet Mills, 77, running for the Senate against Susan Collins, the unreliable Republican who sometimes votes the right way and a lot of times does not. So Janet knows her own age, but she thinks this is a time when it's important to take the Senate back. And I agree. Just as I agree it's the time to take the House back. And all the reasons are manifest. But what is it about these Democrats saying, oh, I think we should have somebody younger? Yeah. Why don't we have somebody who doesn't have a chance of beating Susan Collins? How about that? And we wait for the election when that person gets old enough that they can win it when they're 60. The question for her, it seems to me, is answered by the boys. And apologies to Ed Markey, but he's been a powerful member of the Congress, and he's 79 and he's running again. So if he can run at 79, she should be able to run at 77. And it would be nice to take back the damn Senate. because then we would have a foothold on the republic being restored, and the votes being protected, and equal justice before the law having a competing chance. So there's that. So, we have the Pentagon, we have a governor up in Maine who wants to make a difference. We have broadcasters who are not prepared to defer to the war machine, telling them what they could publish and tell the public. And even in Comey's case, there's been an advance that strikes me as a silly position for the government to take. The government does not want Comey, the defendant in the case, to have access to the discovery they intend to use against him to prove he committed crimes. And the judge, the Eastern District of Virginia, Judge Nachmanoff, he says, forget that. That's not going to happen. So we have this scattering of misconduct and false representations and so forth. Sorry for my thumb being in the way. But we have to push back. And the last thing that we should be thinking about when considering what we can and should do is the No Kings rally this next Saturday, the 18th. And the reason is it drives their little minds crazy in the Republican Party that we would want to exercise our First Amendment right to say we don't believe in kings, and that goes for you, Trump. Very simple message. But Johnson and the gang, all the way up to Trump and across the spectrum of crazed white male Republicans, they want to tell the public, the Democrats, they hate America. No, we are embracing the original values of America. We don't hate. If there's anybody who hates, it's the Republican. The Republican doesn't believe we have a right to disagree, that we have a right to a republic and a democracy instead of a dictatorship. So that's what I got today. And it's good to talk to you from my cathedral of trees. And with any luck, I'll be out tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.